Hi, everyone, and welcome to the End of Life Journey and Beyond, the Sands of Time. My name is Lisa Strahs-Lorenc, and I'm a bereavement specialist. Hello, Susan. Good to see you today.
Hi, Lisa. Welcome on this beautiful fall day where we're having this nice cool weather outside. And thank you for the introduction. My name is Susan Capurso. I'm an end-of-life doula and legacy specialist. And we're co-creators of this YouTube channel you're listening to. So we wanted to just welcome you and let you know that this week's topic is an important one. Lisa and I are hoping to clear up and clarify a few questions that often go unanswered after we lose a loved one. Is a grief group right for me?
Mhm.
Big question, right?
It
So
is.
today we're hoping to put a few of these questions to rest and help you make the decision that's right for you. Grief is a natural reaction of loss, of course, but what happens is the part that often gets overlooked, but yet is imperative, is that it's necessary for us to heal and to grow from the pain that we're in. So in this life, it's easy to see that people, rarely experience pain and grieving the same way. We know that, we've talked about that, we've come to that conclusion. But a bereavement group, it's like a bridge, I would say, like a bridge that can take you from here to there. And without that bridge, you might stand near the water's edge
Mhm.
and you might look over and you might look both ways, but have no path to get you across or moving forward in a certain direction.
Yeah, that's a great
So
one.
when you give your life permission to build this bridge, you're giving yourself a new road that will lead you to a space where you can share, listen, and help yourself and help others, believe it or not, when the time is right for you. So there's different types of support groups, and we'd like to assist you today in learning why this support is important and to share some of this information with you today.
Yes.
So we want to start with maybe a few personal stories, right, about the support that we've received along the way. And
I
like
want
you
to
to begin.
clarify a support group so that people understand. So it's a gathering of people and they face common issues, what's troubling them and what's bothering them, obviously. And the thing is, sometimes people go outside of family and friends because they may sympathize, but they don't know what it's like to go through that same situation. And so this group will deal with all kinds of traumas or medical issues or grieving. There's so many layers of support groups. I've been to 3 so far, and they've all been helpful. I've had very positive experiences. Others may not. But so I want to start with HEAL, which is called Help Ease a Loss. It was a support group back in 1984 when my father died suddenly of a heart attack and I was 30 years old. And that was really young. It was sudden, it was obviously unexpected, and I was lost. I was traumatized. And so this group was led by a social worker, and the people in the group, I was probably the youngest in the group. All of us had some kind of loss. It was 8 weeks of doing different kinds of activities and such. But what I found about it was that it had the organizational structure. It had each of us understanding that each of us were going through pain, and grieving, and that each of us needed an airing of those feelings, a place where people would say, yeah, I am traumatized too, or I don't know what to do next, or I don't know how to live my life now, or all those things that you can say that friends would say to you, yeah, sure, but they don't know. And I wanted people who knew what it was like. And though they hadn't maybe lost a parent like I had, they certainly had lost either a child or they lost a spouse or they lost a sibling or something like that. So that was the first group, and I was 30 years old in that group. The second group was a from cancer care. And the second group was to deal with the fact that all of us were caregivers. And being a caregiver is a very challenging role for anybody. And so, as caregivers, we all were going through people in our lives who had cancer. And so, once a week, I did this for 1 year. There aren't a lot of support groups that last like that. But when the person dies, then you're no longer eligible to attend. But you can attend once a week until that person is gone. So we use this as an outlet. Again, another social worker who led it. We use it as an outlet to express our anger, our pain, our frustration. And I don't think I would have been comfortable doing that with some other people, like friends, because they would not have understood how angry I was at this diagnosis, or sometimes even at my husband who was dying. I mean, I mean, you feel so badly that you feel that, but that's how you feel sometimes. When he would scream, and I would say, well, he's dying, so he has a reason. But I have feelings too. So those feelings were really aired during this year. And all of us, by the way, became really good friends. And the last one was after he died. Now, some bereavement groups won't allow you to come until 3 months. I was ready to go long before 3 months, but after 3 months, I went to a hospital-sponsored support group, and this was not perfect. There were some people who took over the group, and that's something to watch. We'll talk about that later. There are people who get more hysterical and who seem to demand more attention. But what I got out of the group, of course, was the healing process and going through grieving. So those three groups were my support groups, and I really believe in them. What about you, Susan? What kind of experiences did you have?
Well, I always refer back to my first initial experience. I've had better experiences since then with support groups, just as you have, but it was the first initial experience. And this was my husband, and I didn't have any loss in my life before that, really, except as a child, a grandparent, maybe. But a few people had recommended it. I said, okay, I can do this. I called. There wasn't a group that was starting up for some time, and they put me on the list. And then a few months later, they gave me a call and had the spot on the list, and I went. And it wasn't like you said, the experience wasn't perfect. This one was far from perfect. But what is perfect? I can't say what's perfect or not. I mean, I think you have more experience with different types of groups. With mine, it was so overwhelming. I couldn't believe it was like a dream the last 55 days of me living in the hospital, and unexpected. It was a flu, not COVID. This was 7 years ago, but it was so unexpected. And the whole section of these couple of months it was a dream. So when I sat at the table, it seemed I was the youngest at the table, but it seemed like everybody had tragic losses. And um, the more they talked about their experiences and the details with the bells and the whistles in the hospital room and this and that, it wasn't soothing me. And I want to be honest with this because I've learned something since this point, but it wasn't soothing. And I'm not one to give up on anything. I'll continue to read a book even when I don't like it because I want to give it a chance and read it till the end. So I wasn't about to give up on that, but I didn't feel like it was helping me. And each week I left there, I felt like I was feeling more and more overwhelmed. And it was from hearing other people's stories and go on and on and on about the negatives and the bad things. And it wasn't helping me to feel good in any way, shape, or form. Now, having said that, I think it had to do with um, the person who ran the group, okay, who didn't guide it and direct it in the certain way that it should have been directed, and just let people just uh, I don't know how to say that correctly. I don't want to, I'm not putting groups down because since then now I've found a lot of different things, especially now in the career that I'm in. I think it's a matter of finding the right group for you. right? If I could say that clearly.
It's true. That's true.
Because not all groups, they're all not the same, of course. And
Absolutely.
there's different dynamics and there's different chemistry going on between people and different age groups and different losses. If you can niche your group down to perhaps women losing their spouses or, in that focused way, maybe that would have been a little bit better for me.
Mhm.
Um, I'm a learner, I'm a lifetime learner, and that part of me just wanted to grow from this experience. How can I heal? How can I take some of this pain away? What can I learn from this group around this table that will help me move forward to my next step? And with each group, I was feeling like I was going backwards. I wasn't moving forward. I honestly believe, and I had to be honest today because this is the topic we're talking about, but I honestly believe that it was just this particular group. I
Yeah.
don't think that all groups are this way,
Yeah.
and you're living proof to that, Lisa.
Yeah.
So I appreciated those three groups that you did attend.
However, I've heard what you've said as well, and some people actually get more depressed. Sometimes they're actually trying to one up the stories, so I have this diagnosis, but I have this one, and so there are people who do that as well in groups, which will make you even more depressed. The design of it is supposed to be cathartic. It's supposed to make you feel that you're not alone and that people really understand and are there for you. But when it becomes to the point where you feel like it's more overwhelming or not, not aiding you and supporting you in any way, it's the wrong group.
And
It's,
that's how I listen to you, Lisa, and I understand and I agree because I did attend an 8-week workshop and it was online and it was in a Zoom room and it was the same 8 to 10 women. There were no
Mhm.
men in this particular group, but it was like that. It was like that. So as you shared your stories, I felt that even though this was online, in front of a computer screen, I
Mhm.
felt that these women cared. We
Yes,
cared for each other. And
yes,
when one would start shedding tears, it was almost like we could physically hand them tissues
yes,
because we were sincere in our caring. It
yes.
wasn't all just about the sirens that went off and the tragic and the negatives. It
Uh,
was
yes,
getting through that process with ease and feeling soothed and comforted, right?
I actually know 4 people who are now best friends, and they met in this support group, I believe it was 12 years ago. And they have maintained this incredibly close friendship, and that's what brought them together
I've
to
heard
this day.
stories like that as well,
Yeah, yeah,
that
they
great
really,
friendships are formed and maintained.
yes,
So always think of that. And I know, Lisa, we had talked before we started recording that there are some myths
there
too
are.
when it comes to bereavement groups or
Yes.
support groups. They're called different things, widowers groups, we call them different things. But there are some myths surrounding the whole concept of
Yes.
that group. And maybe, Lisa, you could
Sure,
share some of those.
sure. Let's start with the first one. So there aren't any support groups in my area. Wrong. There are tens of thousands of support group nationally and globally, some in person, some online. There's probably one available for nearly every problem and condition. So, I mean, that includes,
That's a matter of research,
it is.
right? It's research, it's asking, it's making one phone call that will lead to another phone call that will lead to a third.
You know what? It's so simple now. In the other days, in many years ago, it was not. Now
Sure.
it's Google. So you're Googling support groups for whatever condition or whatever the situation, and a whole bunch of things come up. Guaranteed.
Also, Lisa, I just thought, like pancreatic cancer
Yep.
or certain cancers, breast cancer, different
Yep.
things like that. You
Yep.
can go directly to national
Yes.
and they will guide you
Yes.
in the right direction with
Yes.
support
And
groups.
by the way, I was on a listserv of thousands of people worldwide for pancreatic cancer. And my husband was diagnosed. I just wanted to learn more. And I was learning what other people were doing. And that was just a group to inform and to educate. That's all that was. And it served its purpose because I really learned a lot about treatments and got some good ideas. So,
Mm.
and that was a listserv, but again, an online kind of group. So, next myth, support groups don't have any answers. It could be true. They don't have a magic bullet, okay, to solve your problems, but you will get some ideas. You'll get a lot of support, especially over really tough or sensitive issues.
And over time, it takes time. Don't expect to go to a support group for 1 or 2 sessions and come out healed. You're going to find these rare and golden nuggets in between sessions that you go to. So you really need to give it some dedication,
That's
right?
right. And by the way, some even have some homework in between. And those therapeutic things that you do are very, very helpful to
I
get ready
love
for the
that.
next one. Me too.
I love that because I'm a homework person.
Me
I want
too.
to do what it takes to heal.
Yes, me too. Next myth, I'll be required to share my story. Now, in most groups, you can choose to speak or not. Nobody will make you share if you don't feel like it. They absolutely respect your right. And you can sit there and just absorb and listen to everything that everybody else says.
That's a good one.
Obviously, you
That's
want
a
everybody
good
to be
one,
a part of
Lisa.
it, but
Right.
nobody would ever require you
And
to.
honestly, in enough of the groups that I've been to for different things, of course, but I really feel like you may not want to speak at all. But then after a little time, you're beginning to feel more not only comforted by everybody's presence, but comfortable
Yes.
in opening yourself and sharing your story, and you'll want to naturally.
Yeah, I'm going to use the word safe. I
Yeah,
think that if it's run right, it is a safe place for people.
that's right.
And you feel like it's okay. Obviously, there's boundaries and stuff, which I'm going to talk about next, because the next myth is other participants may attack or criticize me. A well-run support group always sets boundaries. And it starts with nobody will be allowed to criticize anyone. We're not here to judge anyone. There's no right or wrong. And that's the truth. Really important, obviously, for participants to show empathy and respect each other. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
And I know that this is one of, I know you hold support groups and bereavement workshops and so forth. And I know that's one of your criteria. You like having those rules and boundaries set at the beginning so that people understand them and abide by them.
absolutely. And the last one, I'll even feel more depressed after attending a support group. And as you mentioned, some people do. I know some others who felt that support groups were really wrong for them. And whether it's just that they don't like them, or whether they haven't found the right one or the right situation, or maybe it's just something that doesn't help them. And that's true. Some people, want to deal with things on their own and don't want to hear other people's stories. But for the people who like support groups, the simple act of sharing your problems is very cathartic. You feel like you're not alone. You feel encouraged that other people not only share your feelings, but understand them, can empathize with them. Those are so important for people, you know?
And I don't think it's a matter of, you just said, for those of you who like support groups, because a lot of people listening to this are probably saying, well, how do I know if I like one or not? I have no idea if I like a support group, right?
Right.
But that's key, because you need time to figure that out.
That's right. That's
You're
right.
not going to know, you will not know just right now today by listening to this video that, oh, nope, I'm not that kind.
Right.
Support group isn't for me.
Right.
Maybe that has to do with part of your personality where you don't feel so social. You're more of an introvert, or you're quiet, or you like to stay at home and feel the peace that way. And that can be true. But by opening a new door, it might help you to grieve in a little bit different way moving forward.
Yeah.
As the weeks unfold and the weeks turn into months and the months turn into a year, okay, you could be moving a little bit forward towards that light versus still sitting home on your couch,
That's right.
hoping that the grief is lifted. This is a new thing in our lives, right?
It is.
But it doesn't mean you have to just sit and wait till it goes away. You still need to be proactive in your own journey.
Right.
And whether this is, you know, Also, can we just mention the other support group, the one-on-one?
Sure. So some people need support with a professional person, and that's important.
Versus being in a
Versus
group.
being in a group.
Right, and
Um,
you enjoy being in a group because you have that type of personality. Not everybody does. So maybe that one-on-one support for you would be better.
that's
And
right.
there are a lot of bereavement specialists, including
Yeah.
yourself, who do one-on-one work,
Yes, that's
right?
true. Let's go back to some red flags about the support group. One is about the facilitator lacking skills and training. It's not just social workers, but counselors. You can see when they're just not managing the group. You can see the group is out of control. Maybe the group is too large. Maybe there's no confidentiality or clear guidelines about how the group is run. Those are all problems. Okay, if
Right.
you see that. And of course, you don't want somebody who's going to promote a product, okay, or a service. They should be there because of the overall goal of helping, the group. You should always end on an up note, not a bleak note, so that people feel more empowered and feel like they have more control, of their destiny. They have ideas now. They have something to go on, things like that.
Yeah.
It's also really important to give it a try. So getting the most is you have to attend on a regular basis. You can't say, okay, well, I didn't really like this and now I'm done. Give it a chance, a few times, give it a chance. And participate if you can. Obviously, nobody's going to be forced to participate, but if you do, and just little things that maybe resonate with you that are important to you, those may help you move and continue in the process. Be sensitive to other people in the group. I mean, that's so important. When the group isn't the right fit, you know it, and you say it, and you say, okay, it's not me. It's just that I just don't feel comfortable in this group, and I'm not going to continue. Okay. But of course, joining the group is therapy. It's a therapeutic move to do something that is helpful. And again, this is generalized. If it's not helpful to you, we respect that. We're saying to you that this is an outlet for either your situation, your trauma, your medical condition, there's so many reasons why people join groups. And they are therapeutic. And by the way, you can find them a lot in hospitals as an outshoot of that. And you can find them online, like we said as well.
You
But
know,
they
one
do.
thing I wanted to just throw in here because I just thought of it, but I'm a big reader. Okay. And there, I can't even tell you the wonderful support that I got from reading books or
Mm,
listening to books. And audio books do it for me
mhm.
because I can listen while I'm walking, while I'm resting, while I'm driving my car. And listening to these type of books is not only educational, but thoroughly helpful and comforting as well.
Yes.
So it's not just a one-stop shop. You have to continuously continue to learn and grow. So try and keep that in mind if you're a reader.
You do. That's a really good idea. There are a lot of things out there. I'm reading a really neat book called Driving Miss Norma. And I bring this up because we talk about end of life. This woman's 91. True story. And she told her children, her son and her daughter-in-law, that she did not want any kind of treatments, that she's had a wonderful life, and that she'd like to fulfill the rest of her life by traveling. They had a motorhome, and they have a dog, and they go cross country. And this is the story of driving Miss Norma. And as they go to the different places that they want to be at, they document it on Facebook. And now all of a sudden they have a following. And so when they get to certain places, they actually are greeted with parades, with all kinds of things. Each city and town wants to show, you know, gratitude or involvement. It's a really interesting.
Acknowledgement, yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. What a beautiful way to end your life the way you want. So anyway,
Absolutely. I'm all
good
about the bucket list. You know that.
good book about end of life. So you're right. There are a lot of books like that that really hold that.
You know, so we did want to throw in there today some of the red flags, some of the myths, and a few of the negatives
Sure.
about support groups. But now I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the positive things, right? Because there are so many positives out of one-on-one support, bereavement, grief workshops, any kind of bereavement counseling. And, you know, we're all told, I'm sure you've heard this as well as Lisa and I know this, that grief it's a journey,
Yes.
right? It has its ups and downs and its ins and outs and it stops and it starts. And, you know, this is the way that it is.
Yes.
So accepting that first, to know that this may be to come for some time, is important.
Yes.
But there are no two experiences
Mhm.
that really are ever the same
Sure.
because we're all so different in the way we process things. But there's one big benefit that support and bereavement groups, grief grief groups, whatever we call them, have, is that people are coming together because it's a shared experience
That's
of
right.
loss,
That's right.
right? We're all sharing in that one common denominator there. So that's important to remember, that even though the woman or man next to you, you know, may have suffered a complete different loss, maybe wasn't in the hospital, was in the hospital, maybe it was a tragic, you know, a hit and run, maybe it was a gunshot. Things are crazy these days. These days are really, really crazy. So everybody's so different in their own unique stories.
Yes.
But we all come together because of that common denominator. So
Yep.
that's a benefit.
Yep.
That's one of the
Yep.
benefits, right?
Yep. To me, it's not feeling alone. Now,
Yeah.
some people are okay with that and they need to be alone. That's their process. But others, like me, I need to know that others understand how I feel and what I'm going through. That is and has been my MO.
That helps you feel supported.
Yep.
Read that. I think you said it at the beginning when we opened the show. The definition of a grief workshop. I think you said it, but can you repeat that
I
again?
actually, it was what's a support group?
What's a
A
support
support
group?
group is a gathering of people facing common issues to share what's troubling them. And through the sharing of experiences, they're able to offer support, encouragement, and comfort to the other group members and receive the same in return.
Yeah, I like that.
Me too.
I
Me,
like that. You know, grieving can be lonely, and as we both know, it can be very isolating, right? By sharing your experiences that are similar, even in a little way, that are similar to somebody else, to your experience, to their experience, it's powerful.
and again, we're not just talking about grief. We're also talking, like I said, about cancer care. So a diagnosis comes in, you're
Sure.
shocked, you're overwhelmed, you're depressed, and I certainly was. And so cancer care did that for me, gave me an outlet to be able to go to people who also were caring for people with cancer diagnoses.
When
And
you
all of our
know,
fears and our anger and our frustration and everything else were in a safe place.
right, and when you know that everybody in that room and everybody surrounding you, they really do understand
Yes,
what you're going through right now.
that's right.
It's so critical
It
for
is.
you to get through this healing process. Um, I just, you know, sometimes I think too, by getting together in these grief and bereavement workshops, that there are different perspectives, right? And when you hear different people's perspectives, maybe it might come through as like a little tidbit or a little piece of advice
Yeah,
or a little suggestion that you may keep in the back of your mind and say, oh, aha, I didn't think of it that way, or I didn't look at it that way. And then you get in your car and you go home, and during the week, you're going to be thinking about your experience with that group. And that one thing that really resonated with you is going to stand out in your mind,
that's true.
right?
That's true. Yeah.
It's just the, you know, it's the little things. And it's could be just having a little tweak in your own outlook a little bit, right? Our perspectives and outlooks aren't the same all the time. It could be just tweaking that. And it could be something that you never would have thought of
That's right.
if you hadn't gone.
That's right.
And it helped you to think outside the box just a little bit.
Yeah.
And that can ease your own pain,
Yes. Yes. Really good
along the
point.
way.
Really good point. Absolutely. Yeah. I really believe in support groups. But again, that's my own personal perspective. We've given obviously the advantages of them, but has to be right for you. Has to be comfortable, has to be what you need. It's like counseling. So I say to people, listen, there are a lot of really great counselors, social workers out there who can help you, speak to you and all. No, not into counseling. Nope. I don't feel like going to a counselor. And you know what? That's their prerogative. They're
That's right.
not comfortable with that. So,
And Lisa, this is also an experience to help you give back to others. Now, you might be thinking, give back to others. I don't want to give back to anybody. I want to be taken care of and stroked and comforted. I get that. But by being in this kind of group gathering, you are giving back to others because your story, your feelings, your experiences that you've been through can help somebody else
that's right.
in little ways that you might not even realize you're helping. And they're going to go home and live their whole week and think of that little thing that you said that's
Yes.
going to help take them on that next step to that next level. So without even knowing it, you
Yes.
can be guiding and supporting someone else on their own journey.
That's
And
true.
that's powerful.
It is.
That to me is what life is about. That's why God put us all here as human beings to be able to help each other along the way. So even though you'd think you might not be helping, you will be.
Yes. Yes. That's true.
And they may not have gotten that if you weren't there,
That's true.
right?
And it could be a one-time thing. It could be like a workshop that just is the one topic that helps you through that particular, subject. Or it could be an
Exactly.
ongoing group. A year is a long time, but I really needed that year with them. Or it could be, Heal, which was 8 weeks, or my bereavement group, which was 6 weeks, I think. Most are between 6 and 8 weeks. Most are between that. It's unusual to be for a whole year. That's very unusual. But,
But I
again,
have also been to a support group that when it ended, you also had the option of coming back to the next one when
nice,
it started up again, if that's something you wanted to do.
nice.
I think if you continue to do that for a couple of years, they may say to you, you need to try something else now. But
Yeah,
but I think that they're very open to those possibilities. And I also know people who've gotten to that point where they had been going for so long that the instructor, not the instructor, the support
facilitator.
person, the facilitator had suggested that to a couple of them, that maybe a next step would be required. And you know what they did? They actually got together and they made it that friend group that you're talking about and got together on a monthly basis,
Nice.
and continued on their journey, which was wonderful because they now know each other so deeply and intimately. And I think as going back to the whole human being thing again, because I do believe that we're on earth for a short time and we're meant to be here to learn and experience and grow, help others before we go back home. Now, that's just my story and what I believe. But I do believe as human beings that sense of belonging,
Yes.
and
Right.
especially during grief.
Yes.
A sense of belonging is so important. And you might not feel that. You might feel on the first night or two that you go, you feel awkward and I don't belong here. And I hate the color of the walls. And it took too far for me to get here. And I didn't get to have dinner on time tonight. Lots of things can come into play.
Sure. Sure.
But think of the ultimate goal,
Sure.
that all of these sessions that you come to are going to ultimately snowball and help you, and eventually they will help you belong, help you feel that sense of belonging and that you're not alone.
Yes. So
that you're
important.
not alone, and it can be very intimately comforting, I think,
Yes.
to build some of these relationships. And again, maybe you're a quiet person and a private person, and don't like people. I
Hmm.
hate people, and I don't want to be around a group, and I don't want to make new friends.
That's
I
right.
have enough friends in the world. I have 40 friends right now. I don't need another friend.
Right.
But those friends might not be that integral support that you need. We all admit, do we not, that we have different friends for different reasons and for
Absolutely.
different seasons.
That's right.
We've talked about that.
Yeah.
And not everybody is the one that you could just pick up the phone and just start crying and not say a word or two or three and say nothing and have it just quiet, and that supportive friend. If you do that, that's a
Yeah.
blessing,
Yes, it is.
right? But again, different friends for different conversations.
Yes.
And sometimes having just an outsider who doesn't know you personally
Yeah.
will now not concentrate on your personal, um, the personal attack of saying, well, you fought all those years. What do you mean?
Hmm.
Why are you so sad? He's
Right.
finally gone.
Right.
Like, I know it's terrible to say,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
personal people can say that.
Sure.
Whereas somebody who doesn't know you from a hole in the wall only knows that you're grieving
Yes. Yes.
and wants to help.
Yes.
That's why they're there too.
Yeah, that's a great point.
That might be the friend that you need,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, I love that objectivity. I
That's
love that.
pretty magical there.
It is.
Because we don't see it. We think, oh, I have all these people in my life. I don't need that. I don't need that support. But everybody's there for different reasons. And that's why these groups formed. And that's why these support groups are successful.
That's right.
It's a matter of finding the one that's right for you,
That's right.
right?
Great. Well said. Well said.
So I think some of this information's helped, right? I hope
Yes.
it's helped somebody who was listening in today. If you have any other questions, though, seriously, this is why we flash our phone numbers on the screen, not for any other reason, but for you to ask questions or give us advice or suggestions that we could bring forward into another video.
Or make comments on any of the videos. We have almost 70 videos here.
Yeah,
So
and we just
all
started not
topics
too
that
long
people do
ago.
not discuss, people do not bring up, but they're really important topics.
That's
Very
right. That's
sensitive
right.
topics.
So that's why Lisa and I do this outside of what we do regularly, just to serve you. So as far as what I do in my day job, I'm an end of life doula. I guide support people and individuals and their families through this end of life milestone. And that's helping with everything, whether it's paperwork, whether it's bucket list, whether it's any kind of support that you need on the timeline that you're on. Could be a year before terminal diagnosis, it could be a month. And I help both the family and the individual. Also, I specialize in legacy work. So you can read more about the Story of Me project that I do. It's a 4-week project, not only for people who are terminally ill, but for healthy people who want to leave their legacy and roots and heritage to their future generations that they'll never get a chance to meet. And you can go to susancapurso.com and find out more information about that. And in Lisa's spare time, she actually does some of these bereavement workshops that we're talking about. And I know you have another one upcoming soon, Lisa. Why don't you tell us about that one?
I do, but I do want to mention that 2 support books that I wrote were just to support people with pancreatic cancer, even moving forward after death, after the cancer diagnosis and after the person is gone. And so that process of learning to live and still celebrate the people we've lost is part of those books. So those books are really important. And again, they're on the website that's listed there. So I'm very excited to announce that I do have a special group coming up, and I'm going to explain what it is and why I decided to do it. I find that the holidays are a very stressful time for everybody. There's family issues and coming together issues and everything else. And for those of us who have lost loved ones, it is even more stressful. And so I decided to do a 6-week support group for moving forward during the challenging times. We call it holidays after loss. And it will be a group that meets virtually The link is below, and that's an Eventbrite link, a nominal fee for the 6 weeks. And I believe that this will be a really nice process for people to share their experiences and come together and hopefully, again, like we said, help each other during the difficult times of holidays, especially Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Christmas, all that. So I'll be putting that also in the
Wonderful.
article that we'll be writing. But
But
I'm
no, please list it below this video too, so people can jump on Eventbrite and sign up if you'd like. And that's not too far away, right? When is the first session?
the first one starts on November 9th.
Oh,
So,
so
and so
pretty soon.
yeah,
Okay, good.
yes, yes, Wednesday evenings from 7
Excellent.
to 8. So, and
And
we'll,
I know of Lisa's workshops, and you will get real benefits of communing with other people. Even as I gave you my experience of an online Zoom workshop that I attended, and it was absolutely wonderful. And I know the way you work, Lisa, so I encourage everybody to take a look at that and attend. Again, put it underneath this video today on YouTube so people are aware of that.
I will.
And we appreciate you listening and you coming to our videos, and again, we're here for you with any kind of support that you may need.
We
It
are.
was wonderful.
Yep,
Thank you,
we are.
Lisa.
Okay,
We'll
everybody,
see
have
you
a good
next
week.
week.
See you next week. Mhm.
Bye.
Bye.